No, I mean, they'll stay up.
Oh.
They get a strap.
What do you think?
I know.
Now they're going through it.
Okay, before we get started here, if anybody's not sitting with a family member, we need to make sure you're sitting 6 feet apart, social distancing unless you're gonna wear a mask. So any of you are sitting closer than 6 feet from a non-family member, if you would rearrange yourselves, that would be great. So you're saying everybody's 6 feet apart from anybody that's not a family member with you? Okay. Okay, we'll call the September 27th meeting of the Jersey Shore School Board to order. Can we have a roll call, please, Mr. Anderson?
Mr. Michael Allen.
Present.
Mr. Berngard.
Here.
Ms. Stobler.
Here.
Mrs. Grant.
Here.
Mr. Kinley.
Here.
Mrs. Petrosky. Mrs. Stemler.
Here.
Mrs. Thomas.
Here.
Mr. Allen.
Here.
8 members present, 1 absent.
Before you move on, I just want to make sure that everybody hears that Mrs. Petrosky did contact me and is not able to attend this evening.
Okay, if you can raise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To minutes, we have the minutes for approval of August 9th, August 23rd, and September 2nd capital projects meeting.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussions on any of those three? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Move on to the treasurer's report. We have the Treasurer's Report from August 21 and the Investment Report from August 21.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Approval of bills, $2,911,694.00.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Communications.
I do want to point out this evening, and I did share this with the board, but I want to say publicly, we did receive a letter from PDE last week acknowledging that our special ed program passed its monitoring and there were no findings and we were substantially approved. So I want to thank Mrs. Leedy, our Director of Student Services, and her team for getting us that recognition.
Thank you. President's report. I'd like to report that we're going to, because of Mr. Becker resigning from the board, we'll be appointing Mrs. Dobler to the Capital Projects Committee and Mr. Mike Allen to the CTE Advisory Committee. We also had an executive session for legal and personnel prior to tonight's meeting. Intermediate unit report, normally that's given by Mrs. Petrosky. Do we have anything?
Only that I did attach the most recent report from that meeting to tonight's agenda. She shared that with me.
Thank you. Superintendent's report.
I'm going to start tonight, before I recognize Mr. Wall, by recognizing Kelly Paul Hamus. Kelly is our Transportation and Purchasing Secretary in the admin office, and Kelly was recognized today by myself for being selected as the Employee of the Month by the Employee of the Month Committee. So congratulations to Kelly Paul Hamus. And now I want to recognize Mr. Mark Wall, our Maintenance Director, to talk about a future purchase.
Good evening. As you all are aware of, our cleaning procedures for the day-to-day operations of facilities have become quite extensive since last March. Because of this, we have purchased equipment to effectively target those areas.
Can everybody hear him okay?
I'm not sure your
Could
mic
you
is on.
move a little bit closer or turn the mic on? I'm not sure which.
Can you hear me now?
Is it on? I hear it.
Can you hear me?
Better.
As you all are aware, our cleaning procedures for the day-to-day operations of facilities have become quite extensive since last March. Because of this, we have purchased equipment to effectively target these areas of need at the same time relieving our custodial staff of labor-intensive, repetitive work. That has been a direct result of the pandemic. A good deal of time is spent on cleaning corridor, gym, and cafeteria floors as well on a daily basis. And after reviewing our workforce's daily routine, we would like to implement these robotic floor scrubbers in 3 of our larger buildings to assist with the current workload. The robotic machines, from what we have researched, are in the $70,000 range, and we are hoping to start with 2 of the machines, one at the senior high and one at the middle school.
So I want to add to that and point out that we did talk about this in a meeting, and I did present these as part of our ESSER funding use, because cleaning protocols are something that you can cover with those grant funds. I want to draw your attention to the board to my right, the board's right, my left. Just a quick video to share with you of what one of those scrubbers would look like. Give me 1 second. You're not going to be able to get sound through me. You're going to get sound through there. But these scrubbers are being used in areas that are around the country that are large footprint spaces that require a lot of scrubbing on hard floors. So I'm just going to review this briefly with you so you can see what one looks like. Mark and I did do a demo with this company. We're bringing this up to the board because you would have to authorize this to be bid out because of the cost of these. It's above the threshold that requires the board to authorize a bid. And then you would have to officially accept the bid. So even this, though these are would be paid for through grant funds, they do still have to be bid out, and you would have to accept the bid after you bid it out when we see what we got back from companies. But I'm just going to show this clip of this quick video so you get a sense of what it looks like. Mark and I did discuss with you before that this is something that right now we do have some of these machines, but we do not have the robotic version. So right now, anytime you want to use a floor scrubber like this in the district, someone has to be riding it. So you're taking custodial time to ride a floor scrubber, whereas a robotic one would strictly be programmed and sent off. Think robot vacuum in your house. So here we go. And what you're seeing on the screen is one in operation at a grocery store. You'll notice that there are people around. One of the things we saw in our demo is that they do sense people, they sense objects, and will fully stop. It will alert whoever is controlling it on an app that's controlled, that the person uses to control it, to come and get it if it has stopped. So it will essentially shut itself down. If it runs into an obstacle, it can be programmed to clean a certain area of a building. We did the demonstration in a gym so that we could see that, you know, a gym is a large space that our custodial staff would need to clean on a regular basis, and they could take one of these scrubbers into a gym, program it to run and clean the gym, and go do another task while they're waiting for the gym to be clean. Similar to a hallway, a cafeteria, large spaces that we're using this type of equipment, but we're using it right now as someone riding on it, and this would allow us to have it be robotic, program it, and use it to clean while our custodial staff is able to do something else. Maximizing our staff, not replacing. That's one of the things that you heard Mike say, or Mark say. There's a lot of cleaning has to happen on a daily basis. This would allow us to maximize what we're already doing through the use of these machines. Questions from the board?
I do. So the cost is approximately $70,000 paid by the grant that you mentioned.
Correct.
Do you anticipate any additional monthly costs with this that you don't recognize?
No, we're using the same cleaning equipment on the ones that we're using now to ride on.
Okay.
So in terms of supplies, no. You have the same type of maintenance on the ones you have now that we're riding on. So essentially, we would look to replace the ride-on ones with the robotic ones. So in terms of additional costs, no.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Or any additional maintenance costs that, like service contracts or anything like that, that have to be covered?
There's a software contract, but that comes with the original cost. That's built right into that.
Okay.
And how long does that last for?
For the duration of the machine.
So as long as we own it, lifetime?
Yep.
Well, that's actually a great question. What is the lifespan of one of those machines?
7 to 10 years.
7 to 10 years.
I have a question. Would this all be covered with ESSER funds?
Yes, this would all be covered with ESSER funds. Other questions for myself or Mr. Wall?
What would be the difference roughly with the robotic one versus a manual one?
Cost?
Yeah.
Probably $40,000. We looked at the payback as well, looking at probably 3 years for payback on each machine, depending on how many, just what I figured up hours that we would use the machine versus labor on the other machines, and looking at probably 3 years.
Any other questions by any of the board members?
I don't.
Okay,
Thank you.
And just to clarify before we move on, what that process will look like is Mark and I will put that bid authorization on a future agenda. But again, once we get bids back, you would still have to approve the awarding of those bids. So there are two votes that will have to happen. One to authorize the bids and one to approve the bid that you select to award.
Okay, I have a question for Mark. I really didn't hear you answer this before, but who's going to do the software? In other words, you're gonna have to put software in for every room?
When you purchase these machines, the company will come right to the building. They will work with our staff. There's how they work. There's several different placards that come with these machines that they'll get put in a certain area, and that's the placard that machine uses for its route once it's set up. We can probably set up our whole route, I'd say the high school, in a week's time, download the app onto our custodian's phone, and then they'll be able to run the machine right from that app. Once that's in there, it's in there. It doesn't go away.
If we run into a computer glitch, if you will, are our staff trained to handle that, or would there be a cost to bring them out to fix that?
I don't think there would be a cost to come fix that, no, not at this
It would be
level.
part of the service agreement.
Yeah, there's several different warranties for several different things without looking at it, but I know there's a whole bunch of different stuff in there that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, then I'm gonna move on to the information. Thank you, Mr. Wall. I'm gonna move on to the information that I told the board I would bring back regarding district-provided substitutes. So you are seeing, I had this attached to the agenda, and I know some of you printed it, but I also am pulling it up on the screen. We had a conversation in the spring when we had Source for Teachers present. And the question that was proposed is, what would it look like for the board or for the school district to take back hiring our own substitutes? So what Mr. Enders and I did was we took the 2021 usage. So we had a full school year's worth of usage, and we plotted that against the actual cost that Source for Teachers had. So what you're seeing on the sheet is the daily rate and all of the costs for that daily rate, and that is total cost is based on the number of absences for the year. So Source for Teachers did present the total overall 2021 number of absences. We took that number, we took the actual daily rate, the cost for those daily absences. We gave you a total cost of all the types of teacher subs. That's there at the top. Estimated district costs, we called those variable costs because that could change depending on who took a day off. So we're using a 1-year snapshot to give you the variable cost of anytime anybody calls off throughout the whole year. The second set of costs that we termed fixed costs are if we took that back, what would we have to pay to make that work? So right now, our Source for Teachers agreement includes the sub-management software. The district does not own one because we don't need one. Source for Teachers is using their own. So what we did simply was look at that software cost if we were to go purchase it, and that's where you see that $8,000 number. We also estimated unemployment costs because that is not on us. So right now, they're not our employees. We don't incur any unemployment costs if they don't work. So we estimated based on the number of people what an insurance coverage for that would be. We also looked at our standard 12-month secretary, because right now you, as part of the management fee, Source for Teachers is managing that whole program. They're doing the onboarding, they're doing the payroll, they're doing the people's clearances, they are making sure that they're assigned every day. No one in the district is doing that work. So we looked at that as a basic entry-level secretary to manage the onboarding, the assigning, the payroll, the benefits reporting of those people, and we added that into that cost. When we took, if you notice here, what Ben and I are giving you is, if we took all those costs for 1 year and put them together, it'd be $596,768. What we paid Source for Teachers last year is $569,331. That is just the adding up the Source for Teachers bills. That was a 1 year cost. So we're comparing that 30 grand difference in terms of what they are paying, what we're paying them versus what it would cost us. As we moved further, we generated a list with staff for you of the difference in the intangibles of what the change would be if we took it back versus Source for Teachers doing it. So you heard me say additional district employees and all the things that comes with it. So Source for Teachers is doing the recruiting, they're doing the training, they're processing the payroll, they're tracking those employees' certificates, and they're tracking all of their clearances. Right now, none of that is on the district. So taking it back would make all of those district tasks. One of the things that you would have involved in that pathway is board approval. Right now, you hire Source for Teachers, they hire the employees that are subbing. We, as a board, you're approving the contractor, they're hiring the employees. So in order to make that change, one of the things that would have to happen is you would then approve every one of those people individually as your own employees. If they are retirees, which that's been part of our conversation, you would have to have a separate retirement agreement with each one of those employees. Right now, they don't have to do that because they're contracted employees for Source for Teachers. If you wanted retirees to work, we would have to do a separate agreement like you do with some of our coaches who are retired PSERS employees. One of the other issues, and I'm on the right-hand side, is use of guest teachers. Source for Teachers does the training process to allow someone with a 4-year degree to substitute. In order for the district to allow those people to sub, we would have to find a way to certify those people as guest teachers. Right now, Source for Teachers is training them, and they're getting them a guest teacher certificate from PDE. We don't have the ability to give that training. We would either have to get certified to give that training or partner with an IU who has the training and would be able to certify a guest teacher. I talked about PSERS credit. There would be potentially a health insurance cost. So if there's a sub who worked 5 days a week and worked more than 30 hours a week, you would be liable for health insurance of that person if they continue to do that over and over and over again when we reported to ACA. So you would be liable for the health insurance costs if we got into that situation, I said health insurance. And also the difference in transitioning it back to the district is that we would then have the burden of supervision and discipline of those staff. So right now, if we have an issue with a substitute, the principals and I they're not our employee issue. We turn the issue over to Source for Teachers, they're their employee, they handle it. If we took them back, we would then have those issues as well. They would become our employees. We would have to work through the discipline process and the investigation process. So those are the couple of things that we pulled together when we talked to staff that would be different in bringing them back. That would give you the cost of difference. And that was just a 1-year snapshot. So don't get me wrong, it could swing one way or the other in any given year. But that was a 2021 look at what a 1-year cost difference would be. Questions from the board?
I have a quick question. I missed the savings back there. Are we actually making a savings, or is it?
We are actually
30,000,
saving money by
30,000?
outsourcing. 30,000.
They did raise their rates for this present year. Is that calculated in there or not?
We calculated based on, correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, but we used the 21-22 rate, but used the 2021 number. So we're
For
actually kind of
absentees.
giving you, if,
If you scroll down there, you'll see it.
right here?
Keep going. Right there, you see on the left, says 21, 22, social teachers billable rate.
Okay, so that is the new rate that they're
That
charging.
is the new rate, but we assume that this year's absences would look the same as last year, just to come up with a number. We'd be able to update that again at the end of this year, but you're seeing the new rate. The savings would be more based on the old rate.
Right. We had, this is kind of off the subject a little bit, but we had talked about nutrition group before, outsourcing that. Could we look at a comparison of that sometime in the near future here?
We can.
I gotta believe we could save some money on that also, especially with the benefits. Because we'd have the same scenario that we have with these employees, right? With subs?
Correct. It would be
Pretty
the
much.
similar conversation.
Right, okay, appreciate that, thank you.
Other questions from the board? And the last thing on my report is a new set of policies where actually Pam and I are up to the 300s. They are almost all, I think these all are PSBA language edits. We are starting, I told you when I came here that that was one of my goals. We are starting to find here and there. You'll see on the next set of policies for the next meeting that I'll present, we did jump to the 900s for one because we discovered that our federal programs policy, when we went through monitoring last year, 2 years ago, is way behind. And they asked that one of our corrective actions is that we get that policy changed as quickly as possible because it's even though it's a 2018 version, it is already old. So some of these policies that we're working through are back to 2010, so that's why we keep marching through 5 at a time to get them up to date. As usual, if you see anything in a policy, I'll take questions, but you can also email me. Remember that we don't first read until after you see them this way in presentation. But you'll, just like we reviewed 5 last week that are on for first read for tonight, we'll keep moving through them 5 at a time. I do want to mention, because I've had that question from a couple board members, they are not on the agenda for tonight, but I'm working through making sure that 006 board meetings matches 903 public comment, because those two were not changed at the same time previously, and they do not match. And they also are not in alignment with current legal requirements that changed at the beginning of the school year, so we have to get them updated. Policy questions? And that's my report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Okay, we have the people signed in for courtesy of the floor tonight. None of them indicated that they were on the agenda, so we'll move on to our action items for this evening. Personnel, we have A through I.
So moved.
I'll second.
I signed up for harassment.
That's not on the agenda for tonight.
You got unlawful harassment?
Policy
That's not on the
348.
agenda. So it looks like it. Policy 348.
We're not acting on it. It's just a reminder for us to review it. Okay, we have a motion and a second on personnel. Any questions, comments, or corrections?
I have a question. Letter I, can you just talk to me about the fitness center instructor? Do we have one currently?
We do. We have a high school paraprofessional that's currently doing that after school who has resigned, so we're replacing that person.
What's this? Go ahead.
I should say, we didn't put the resignation on in case that person does want to fill in, but he's not going to work every day, so we're approving a different person.
What does that job do?
It's essentially the person that supervises the fitness center after school so that kids can come there and use it in their supervision.
Any other questions on personnel? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We have nothing under curriculum instruction, nothing under building and grounds, finance, A and B.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a question on A. Explain how these balances, these debit balances come to be. As far as, is there a limit put on their card, or how do they overspend?
Well, in food service, the regulations say we are required to feed them. So if they are not free and reduced, we still have to provide them a meal, and we charge it to their account. So we are by law required to provide a meal to them. They are not allowed to purchase a la carte items, snacks, so to speak. So, but they are allowed to, they have to receive a meal for a day.
Thank you.
Mr. Enders, I have a question as it pertains to that. Are these current, as in like the last year?
No, these are old. These exonerations are coming from our debt collector,
Okay.
and that's the last step in the process. So the district would have made multiple attempts to collect these, then they would have gotten turned over to the debt collector. They would have made multiple attempts to collect these. All these ones were, they moved with no forwarding address, so.
So this clearly would fall outside of the free lunch that, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
This would have been well before the change to last October, or it was October-ish that lunches became free, because it would have taken months to work through that process of us trying to collect, then the debt collector trying to collect, and then coming back to us and saying, we can't find these people.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And miscellaneous. We have items A through F. We are pulling G and H, and we also have I.
So moved.
Second. Again, you're removing G and H, correct? Okay.
Do we have a second on that?
I had Harry,
Harry, okay.
Mr. Brown.
Any other questions on miscellaneous? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Anyone have anything for old business?
Before you move on, I do want to recognize for the board that Mr. Wayne Brookhart from Site Logic is in the audience. We look forward to working with you, Mr. Brookhart.
Yeah, an overview on what you found on Bean Junction. The case on.
I have nothing to report.
report since I haven't reported, they haven't returned my phone call.
Okay. Okay, so basically, the only thing is we were going to ask the solicitor to report on his contact with the group that had filed for the injunction out in the western part of the state. That has been extended, waiting for the judge to request some additional information from the parties, and they have not been providing the solicitor with any feedback yet. Okay, second courtesy of the floor. And again, you have 3 minutes each. I'll go down the list as people signed in earlier. Mrs. Furman, Anne Marie Furman.
Good evening, Anne Marie Furman, Watson Township. I am here again as a soldier of God, fighting to maintain our constitutional and God-given rights. As I was preparing my thoughts for tonight's meeting, I realized that none of you have spoke up for our children or parents' rights publicly that I am aware of regarding masking. You all continue to ignore the facts presented, which makes me question your ability to make rational, fact-based decisions for our district. I am asking you to stop hiding behind the threats of the bullies and power-grabbing elitists that don't know you or have 1 ounce of concern for you or our children. Both the Department of Health and Department of Education failed to show up at last Friday's hearing regarding the mask order. They too are ignoring the wishes of the parents and neglecting our children. These actions, or should I say lack of actions, show all of your true colors. I truly don't know why we have a board when none of you are willing to support the children and parents of our district, but rather follow a tyrant leadership from the government down to the district level. You may not realize today the destruction your lack of action, not standing up for the truth and standing up for the truth is doing to our, You may not realize today the destruction your lack of action and not standing up for the truth is doing to our children and country, but you will soon find out that your lack of action is destroying our country and taking all of our voices away. Since you decided not to work with us, some of the parents and citizens have taken action. As I am sure you are aware, as you have received our attorney's letter this afternoon. We hope you will now work with us and get masking optional for our children and stop the segregation practices that the district has allowed the teachers and the administrators to do in our classrooms. If you do not work with us, we will be considering taking further action. But this is about the kids. You have to do what's right for the kids. Finally, I once again am asking you all to stand up, to speak up, and take action for our children and our country. We need to fight for our freedoms. We need to fight for our constitutional rights. You need to do what's right for the district and our children. Stop hiding behind those masks. Stop hiding behind the threats of the Department of Health, the Department of Education. They don't even show up for the hearings. That's terrible. That is just terrible. And I would really appreciate at some point in time if somebody, besides the superintendent or the president of the board, to send me correspondence when I respond to you. I can't get anything from you
Did
guys
not get my email. I'm
individually.
Angela Grant. I did email you back. I just want to be clear about that. You did hear back from me.
I did not get that, or it's an oversight on my part.
I am listening to you.
I hope so, and I apologize if I missed that. But very few of you are working with us and responding to us. And when it's a response, it's been a text script. Thank you.
Okay, next is Bill Furman. Isabella Gutschall.
Hi, I'm Isabel Gutschall, and I'm a student at the Jersey Shore Middle School, and I was one of 5 students that did not wear their mask on Monday the 7th. I do not have a medical condition in which I cannot wear it like some of my fellow peers who get extreme anxiety and have breathing problems. I will not wear a mask if there is no reason to. These are my reasons. You can only wear a mask up to 20 minutes. Otherwise, it is useless. So if you would like to provide all 300 and more students with a new mask every 20 minutes, then it is not preventing COVID. When you breathe out, it is carbon dioxide. So all of that carbon dioxide is filling up in our masks, which could cause us to get more sick from that than COVID. Masks are actually the most unsanitary thing. All of the students at my school drop them on the ground, people sneeze in them, and it just causes it to be worse wearing them. Back to Monday the 7th, we were segregated into the library, and we weren't told very much information about what we were going to be doing that day or how our day was going to look like. We ended up being told to go onto our iPads and do our work on there. So basically what they were telling us is that we need to do online school. So no one was going to be teaching us, and no one was going to be giving us any help. We sat in there all morning, and we were allowed to go in the restroom without a mask on, but we couldn't walk in the hallway without one, which to me does not make any sense at all. But anyway, we go on, it's our day, and kids start to get the exemption form signed, and they automatically got to leave and got to go to all of their other classes. So you're telling me that we have to go into a room while our form isn't signed, but as soon as you get it signed, we can go to all of our classes without it. I ended up being able to go to my classes by the end of the day, which still doesn't make sense, but I got to be free and leave the room. If you think that's enough stress, you just wait. Kids started stealing stuff out of the bathrooms and vandalizing, which I know is wrong, but please don't punish the whole school. I had anxiety all day, and if you asked a teacher to go to the bathroom, they would say, "Can you wait?" Like, I'm really sorry, but my bladder does not have an on and off switch, and I have to go to the bathroom when I need to go to the bathroom. So please take my thoughts into mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabella. Good job.
And next is Kim Welch.
Hi, I'm Kim Welch, and I'm from Jersey Shore. I graduated here in 1988. My concern is that your mask mandate FAQs, the schools are not following them. This was basically updated on Wednesday, September 22nd, that the students are to be given mask breaks. Secondary students are to receive one each class period. Elementary, once an hour, for up to but not exceeding 10 minutes. This is not happening in all the classes. And I find that irresponsible for the teachers that are not doing so. Because especially for the elementary school students, this is very intense for them. They have a lot of issues. Some of them since their first year of school, and being in a new school away from their parents, and then having to go through all this bull crap is ridiculous. And on that note about elementary school, they're not required when engaging in physical activities such as gym classes. We need to remind your gym teacher for elementary school, Mrs. Kodish, to allow these students to remove their mask if they choose not to wear one during gym class. Because
could you please refrain from using staff names in your presentation, please?
I apologize, but I need to get my point across.
I understand. Thank you.
I've already addressed this with the elementary school, and this has not been taken care of. Now, we cannot, as parents, sue the school board if a child comes down with COVID for not wearing a mask. But if a student gets injured in gym class for wearing a mask, and that's the cause of the injury, is because they hyperventilated and passed out and caused an injury, the parents can sue you for that.
Okay, Jesse Edwards.
Pardon me. My name is Jesse Edwards, Piatt Township. I graduated in 1993. You can't hear me.
I apologize. So my name is Jessie Edwards, Piatt Township. I graduated in 1993. Thank you, Dr. Omer. You're probably, I think, the only person I've emailed, and you've emailed me back. My question was, has the solicitor called to find out why specific people did not show up for the court hearing? Specifically, like, was there a reason? Like, were they sick?
Are you talking about the hearing with?
Yes.
The legislative hearing?
Yes, yes.
There's no
They
way
just-
for us to get that information.
They just don't have to show up. That's awesome. So Anne Marie covered most of the stuff I was going to say.
Just a question, you're talking about the Senate hearing that they have this week,
Yeah.
or are you talking about the court hearing?
The court, the Senate.
The Senate, okay,
Yeah.
They just denied access, basically.
Okay, so we just don't get an answer. You, along with us. So and this question is for the solicitor, and this may sound ridiculous, but this is my question. Why do we have a school board if they're just going to let Wolf make the decisions?
That's the question. I understand that.
I know. I said it's on the ridiculous. But that's how we feel. So, thank you.
Kyle Kehoe.
Good evening. My name is Kyle Kehoe. I'm from Limestone Township. I'm the father of 3 children in the district, and I'm not here to read any mandates tonight. I just want to be on record to say that I'd like parents and children to have the option to wear a mask. Thank you.
Okay, Tiffany Sullivan.
Good evening. Tiffany Sullivan, Bastress Township. I find it very disrespectful that after 30 people spoke and voiced our concerns at the last board meeting, and they were not addressed or added to the agenda. Excuse me. You are violating Title 21 as the school district has not received informed consent from us parents to mask our children. There are other school districts in our area that are allowing parents to sign exemption forms without a doctor's signature. Example would be South Williamsport and Muncie. So why not us? The Pennsylvania Department of Health nor the Secretary of Health have the power or authority to mandate masks in our schools. The order issued does not state a doctor's signature is required for a mask exemption. Masking our children is a violation of their constitutional rights and a detriment to their health. For example, I have 3 children in the district. 1 child still in daycare. The other 2 have both missed school already this year due to illness. Both tested for COVID, both negative. My 11th grade daughter has had perfect attendance for, I would say, 9 years. She's missed school already this year due to being sick. So you can't tell me the mask has nothing to do with that. You do have the power to allow masks to be optional. And I am asking you again tonight to please consider allowing us as parents to sign these exemption forms for our children. Thank you.
Brandy, sorry, I can't read your last name.
Brothers.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brandy Crothers. I am a resident of Porter Township. I graduated in 2001. I have 2 small children in the elementary school. During this meeting, I've been watching. I am a healthcare provider. I am a dental hygienist, may not be a nurse, may not be a doctor, but I've worn masks longer than any of you. And I've watched you touch your masks, pulled your masks away, rubbed at them. And you are all grown adults. And the moment you have touched those masks, you've contaminated them. They're dirty. They have germs. Anyone around you, you are not 6 feet apart. That breathing, you're breathing right onto somebody else, right under their mask. If they're breathing in your germs. Those masks, the virus is not going to be filtered out into those masks. So, you are grown adults and you have touched your mask just in this short amount of time, multiple times. And you expect children of all ages, aging from my youngest my youngest in school, 5, all the way up to high school, to keep a sterile environment in order for them to be safe using these masks that are protecting them. They're not. They're not doing a thing. They're switching masks in front of people. It's like the newest Pokemon trend. Let's trade masks. Boogers and whatever else being put in there. I mean, it's disgusting to think about and it's funny, but it's not when we're worrying about this. You can't expect these kids to keep these masks on and to not touch them and to not contaminate them. Unless, like this young girl said, if you want to spend all this money to have children change their mask and you supply 15 masks a day for them, that is the only way you're even thinking of doing anything. And even then you're not, but that would be the only way. I'm asking you to reconsider, to make it parental choice. If you feel comfortable, if your children, if your parents and you want your kids to mask, by all means mask. But for those of us that are more worried about their health, their mental health, and their, in every sense, give us our rights as parents to choose for our children. Mr. Kinley, I'm asking you to please put it to a vote. I know it's not on the agenda tonight, so therefore I know that you have no intentions of voting on it, but I'm asking you to bring it up to put it for a vote, to make it parental choice. That's where I'm leaving it. I'm asking you to ask them to vote, to bring it up to the table, please. Thank you.
Okay, normally we don't use a sign-in sheet for the second courtesy of the floor, so if there's anybody else that would like to speak that hasn't already, if you want to come up to the microphone and just introduce yourself, we'll take your comments. Okay, then we'll close courtesy of the floor. And at this time, the board will move to an executive session, after which there'll be no additional business conducted for legal and personnel. We have a motion to adjourn. Mr. Brungard? Okay, thank you. We don't need to take a vote on a motion to adjourn. Thank you.